What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode, Fantasy Headliners. Kyle and Jake coming at you today. And Kyle, it's now April, which is a good thing because March absolutely sucked. And let's talk about a little bit of rankings, right? I mean, it's a little bit way too early. We put a top 25 video out here just the other day. Actually, I did, and a lot of people got pissed off because there was one name not in there. We're going to discuss the reasons why. But we thought, even though it's a little early, let's get into our top 12s because we have them a little bit different. So it'll give us a chance to kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it is super early, but quite honestly, is there anything else to talk about right now?
Nothing that's
why
positive.
not? Let's talk some football.
Yeah, I mean,
let's talk some rankings.
Yeah,
throw some stuff out there. These are going to change after the draft. They're going to change as we get closer to the season because there's going to be a season. Positive thoughts. Okay, let's do it all together. But yeah, no, this is all part of the fun. We're going to talk and disagree a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned it in the top 25 video. We kind of have to establish, a ground point somewhere. This is where we're going to start off with, and you mentioned after the draft. As we get further into the offseason, it gives us time to kind of tweak these things. Don't go out there and get butt hurt in April. It's too early anyway. Give us some time. We'll start to dial these things in the closer we get to the season, but we're not going to take a whole lot of time. We're going to get right in here to the rankings. Before we do, just a quick reminder, thefantasyheadliners.com. We got some great, information, some articles up there to go check out. And our draft guide is available for pre-order right now, $14.99. If the season for some reason does not happen, don't worry. We got you covered. We'll refund your money, so you're at no risk there. Just give yourself something to go and look forward to. But Kyle, let's dive into our top 12 overall running backs here for 2020, and I'm going to go ahead and start off here because it's pretty easy. Number one, we're going to match, right? I mean, is it? Yep. I'm pretty sure everybody's rankings probably has Christian McCaffrey number one overall. Really no reason to move him. And now with Teddy Bridgewater under center, expect CMC to be just as involved in the passing game as he has been in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gotten some questions from a few people. Hey, Kyle, if Teddy Bridgewater can't push the ball down the field, is that going to hurt Christian McCaffrey? Well, I mean, let's be honest. Cam Newton hasn't been 100% for a while now. You had Kyle Allen last year. He doesn't. So I'm not really that worried about Christian McCaffrey at this point. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be an upgrade over a Kyle Allen and an injured Cam Newton. So I expect him to do just fine. And part of the reason he didn't push the ball down the field last season with New Orleans was because that's just the way the offense was designed. I think we're going to see a little bit of a different offensive scheme, though, with Carolina this year, especially with an offensive-minded staff that is very creative with their game planning.
Yeah, 100%. But after the number one spot, Kyle, it's pretty apparent we don't agree on much of anything because I don't think we have anything else that matches here. Me, personally, I got Dalvin Cook at number two. It's somebody who we were really high on last year. A lot of people starting to hop off the bandwagon a little bit, but I look at it like this. No Stephon Diggs. Okay, they added Tajay Sharp. I really don't care. Dalvin Cook and the majority of the offense is going to be going his way. I really don't see a reason why he can't at least duplicate the numbers that he saw last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Dalvin Cook. And just like you, I was a big supporter of him last year. I was all aboard the Dalvin Cook train. So I have him at number 4. So it's not that big of a difference, the 2 and the 4 spot really at this point. But a couple things I'm waiting for. Number 1, do they add another pass catcher? Do they do that in the draft? Whatever. Do they add another pass catcher? If they do, that's great for Dalvin Cook. That only helps him a little bit more. Number 2, though, do we see a little bit more Alexander Mattison this year? Towards the end of the year there, Cook did end up getting banged up. He scared a lot of us there towards the fantasy playoffs, especially those that were relying on him all year. So there was some issues towards the end of the year. Do they try to give him a little bit more of a break? Do they bring those touches a little bit back down and let Mattison play a little bit more? So just a couple of concerns there, but he's still a top 5 running back for me regardless heading into the season.
Yeah, if they don't add another pass catching offense in that, or pass catching weapon in that offense, I'm convinced that Bill O'Brien also runs the Vikings. Anyway, moving on to number 3, I have here Saquon Barkley. I know you have him at the number 2 spot, so we're pretty close here. We're expecting, a better season from Barkley. I think a lot of people kind of just look at the overall numbers from last year or at the time throughout the middle of the season where he maybe struggled, and they forget the fact that the guy had a pretty significant high ankle sprain that he tried to play through, but you saw there at the end of the year, once he's healthy, the guy is, a fantasy stud.
Oh yeah, 100%. And there was even lots of comments back when Judge was hired as the new head coach there in New York. A lot of quotes came out from both him and Gettleman, basically saying we want to run the football. We want to pound the football. That's what we want to do with this offense. So I expect you're going to see a ton of Saquon Barkley as long as he stays healthy. He is going to get an absolute insane workload this year. And keep in mind, too, I mean, Daniel Jones was a rookie last year. He was really up and down, really inconsistent. Do I think he's a savior in the NFL? Do I think he's going to morph into a top tier quarterback? I don't. I think he could be a middle tier, a top 12 to 15 type of guy, maybe a little bit higher than that. I think he'll end up doing just enough. But when you're super inconsistent, sometimes that allows you to key on the run game, especially when the best athlete on the field is your running back.
Yep, agreed. Number 4, I have Derrick Henry, last year's rushing leader. And I got him dropped down a couple of spots, and I want to once again preface, these are half-point PPR rankings that we're doing. Henry not overly involved in the passing game. He does lose Jack Conklin off the offensive line, which is a big loss there for Tennessee. However, overall, as a whole, still a very strong offensive line, and you know that they're going to involve him in the game plan. The touches are going to be there, and now no more Dion Lewis. Does that mean that he sees a little bit more work in the passing game? Possibly. That's why I have him up at number 4.
Yeah, and I have him at 7, and maybe that is a little bit low again for another running back that I absolutely loved last year. So there isn't any Derrick Henry hate coming from this side, none whatsoever. The Jack Conklin thing, like you said, is a big downgrade for me. That's a big miss there on that offensive line. I think he's going to end up being just fine though, and I'm excited to see. Hopefully, he gets a little bit more work in the passing game, but all of the running backs that I have in front of Derrick Henry are guys that I wildly expect to have a lot of success in the ground game and in the passing game. So I've got some dual threat guys there ahead of him. That's why I've got him at 7.
Yep. I mean, that makes sense. I kind of look at that volume, and I think the volume is a little safer there for him just because, on a weekly basis, you're looking at 20 to 25 touches easy.
Yep.
Number 5, I have Alvin Kamara. Another one of these guys that really disappointed a lot of fantasy players last year, but he wasn't 100% healthy either. The window in New Orleans is closing. They're not going to have Drew Brees very much longer. They have Michael Thomas. They added Emmanuel Sanders, another weapon to the outside. If Alvin Kamara comes back 100% healthy, which it sounds like he's going to have plenty of time to heal up and rest, don't forget that this guy was arguably one of the best fantasy players in the whole land just a couple years ago, and he's going to be involved in the passing game regardless. I got him all the way up at number 5 this year. I'm looking for a bounce back year for Kamara.
Yeah, so I've got him at 10. So this is one of the bigger ones that we disagree on here. And my issue with Kamara this year, the reason I'm being semi-safe with this ranking is because I think the Emmanuel Sanders edition, not edition, is going to end up hurting Kamara in some way, shape, or form. Not enough to keep him from being a running back 1, but just enough to keep him from being one of the top fantasy backs. Because I think some of those targets that you've seen Kamara get, you're going to see move towards Sanders. And another reason as well is now a full year of Jared Cook and Drew Brees. Jared Cook was not very good to begin the year last year. However, after Drew Brees came back, Cook was a stud down the stretch. He was a lot better after having some time. Now a full season of those two working together. So now you got Cook, now you got Sanders, now you've got Michael Thomas. That's a lot more than what they've had in the past. And don't forget, Traquan Smith going into his 3rd year is a viable deep threat to stretch the field as well. So I think they have more weapons and more opportunities to take away from Alvin Kamara than what they've had the last couple of years.
Yep, going to be a very fun division there to watch for sure. Number 6, maybe the lowest I've ever ranked Ezekiel Elliott. I don't dislike Zeke this year whatsoever. What I don't really know is what's going to change in Big D with Mike McCarthy calling the plays. I mean, at times, remember when he was in Green Bay, we constantly said every single week, every single year, it's time to free Aaron Jones. He never got a chance. Is there a chance that maybe we see more Tony Pollard this year? Is there a chance that they focus a little bit more on the passing game and really utilize Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper? That's something that just kind of worries me a little bit. I think he's safe, but he's just not, that slam dunk home run like he used to be a couple years ago. I think there's just a little bit more risk. And plus, he just lost one of his best offensive linemen here in the offseason. And to me, that makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference. I've got him at 5. So you and I are again pretty close there on Ezekiel Elliott. The Frederick loss is big for me though. That's one that I'm disappointed in. A really good center, and has been there for 7 years and will no longer be there going into retirement now. With Ezekiel Elliott though, he's going to get the ball. He's going to get the ball. I think Mike McCarthy is going to come into this knowing that Ezekiel Elliott, that, he makes Dak Prescott better. Dak Prescott makes him better. You can't have too much Prescott and not enough Elliott. You can't have too much Elliott and not enough Prescott. So I think he's going to be smart enough to realize that this is an offense that has to stay really, really balanced. But again, Zeke is still a top 5 running back for me because you have Michael Gallup and you have Amari Cooper there. Great offensive weapons. I think another full year of all of those guys being together is going to be really critical for them. I'm expecting big things from this offense.
Yeah, I still think he's a safer pick. I just don't know if I can put him right there in the top 3 or 4 like he has been in years past. Number 7, I have Joe Mixon, somebody who you're super high on, and I am too. I kind of thought 7 was a little high, and then I saw your rankings and was like, wow. I mean, Kyle is all over some Joe Mixon. I get it. I mean, they get their first round draft pick back in Jonah Williams, who was hurt before the season started last year. He'll come back. They'll improve the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Sounds like Joe Burrow's going to be under center. Is AJ Green healthy? Still have Tyler Boyd, some weapons to pull defenders outside the box. And you kind of saw a different Joe Mixon at the end of last season. It's like it finally started to click. He started to run angry, and he put up some huge numbers. And Joe Mixon is in line to have a huge 2020.
Oh yeah, I am all over Joe Mixon this year because that offense is going to be a lot better in terms of the offensive line. Like you said, Jonah Williams was hurt before the season even began, but a lot of people don't remember either. They had 3 injuries on the offensive line prior to the season last year. So they did a lot of shuffling on that offensive line and lost some depth there as well. So having a full offensive line back and healthy is really what they need. And even behind a poor offensive line, Joe Mixon did really, really, really well down the stretch last year. It took a few weeks to get going, but when he got going, you saw the type of athlete that he can be on the ground and through the air. When you've got a guy like John Ross that can stretch the field deep, when you've got AJ Green, if they can get him back and healthy and ready to roll, Tyler Boyd has shown that he can be a really good offensive weapon. Who's going to be at quarterback? And quite honestly, even if for some reason, because there were some reports, here early in the week that Cincinnati may trade out of that number 1 spot, even if they do, and they do roll with Andy Dalton as their starting quarterback, we've seen Andy Dalton do more than enough in the past to have a good run game behind him. So I'm not worried regardless. Joe Burrow will help step that offense up if he is the one that's drafted. But even if it's Andy Dalton, I'm still really high on Joe Mixon this year.
Yep. Yeah, you are. Number 3 overall for you for Joe Mixon. Going on number 8 for me, another guy who we both love a lot this year, Josh Jacobs out of the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland. I caught myself. Josh Jacobs is going to be one of these guys who I think as the offseason progresses, his ADP is going to continue to climb because a lot of people are going to start hopping on this bandwagon. So depending on when drafts are, is really going to determine what his ADP is. Because I totally expect him to be involved in the passing game. We heard that, out of Mike Mayock himself that, hey, we're going to utilize Josh Jacobs in the passing game a lot more this year. The guy proved that he could handle a pretty decent workload. Had he not gotten injured at all last year with that shoulder injury, could have put up some huge numbers for a rookie running back. And if they add another pass-catching weapon there on the outside, it's really going to help open things up for him even more. Josh Jacobs, I got him at number 8.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me is if they add more weapons. That's what's got to happen. If they do, then Josh Jacobs could be a top 5, top 4 running back this year. I mean, I'm looking at these rankings right now, and he could go over Elliott for me. He could potentially go over Cook for me as well if they end up adding another weapon or 2 in that offense. So, like you said, at the Combine, when we heard Mike Mayock talk, we were all on board Josh Jacobs, and that's going to continue to be the case all offseason.
Yep, 100%. Number 9, I have Austin Eckler of the Chargers. Now there's no more Melvin Gordon. We kind of saw what Eckler could do when he had that backfield to himself. However, I do expect them to add another running back at some point in the draft. How big of a role does that player get? That remains to be seen. I don't know if Eckler is a 3-down back for 16 games a season. I don't know if he could handle that. However, we saw the explosiveness and he's super efficient. To me, reminds me a lot of what I thought of Aaron Jones last year. Kind of somebody who didn't need a whole lot of touches to produce some huge points, and he's going to get a great opportunity. Hopefully they can get a quarterback under center. Not that I hate Tyrod Taylor. I just don't know if that's the best option, whether that's Cam Newton, whether it's a rookie that comes in. I still think Austin Eckler is going to be a huge part of the game plan. And we know Anthony Lynn likes to run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I could see the touches being basically mirroring what we saw from him last year. But if they have a rookie running back, you probably see him take a little bit of a back seat to Eckler, and Eckler, you see, have a few more of those touches that, went to Melvin Gordon last year, that those will flow towards it. It won't be such a split like we saw last year. You'll see a little bit more Eckler, but even like a 60-40 type split at that point, because how efficient he is and how much they want to use him. I mean, signing him to the contract that they did shows that, this is a guy that they need in this offense is a weapon that's a key part of it. So we're going to see a lot of Austin Eckler. I think he's more than capable of returning these rankings right here.
Agreed. Number 10. This one hurts my heart a little bit because it's very near and dear to my heart. I love me some Nick Chubb, Kyle. I'm all about, I got the jersey sitting right there. I love me some Nick Chubb. We both loved we loved Chubb last year, and I don't dislike him this year. I just can't quite put him as high. We already know the amount of weapons that are in the passing game there. It's going to be a new offense. Kareem Hunt still in the mix. Not to say that Nick Chubb took a huge hit directly because of Kareem Hunt, because he was still getting the volume. He just became a lot less efficient second half of the season. I do expect the touches to be there, but does he lose that efficiency that made him such a great option, to start the season? Right now, Nick Chubb coming into the year got him at number 10.
Yeah, and I've got him at 9. So this is another player that we're super close on. But does Baker Mayfield take a step back to the way that he looked his rookie season? The passing game's got to take a step forward. If you've got Baker Mayfield working very, very well with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., if Austin Hooper comes in, there's more than enough weapons there to keep a defense busy and keep the defense from stacking a box. So even if we see Chubb's, carries go down slightly because Kareem Hunt, is taking some of those touches, that you're not going to see a whole lot of stacked boxes. So you're going to be seeing upwards of 4.5, 5 yards, 6 yards of carry on certain plays. He's going to have more than enough room. And also they made the addition on the offensive line, a guy that we talked about a little bit ago. They were able to make that addition on the offensive line this year. That's a big offensive get for them to reinforce that offensive line and give some room for Nick Chubb and some space for Nick Chubb to get out in the open and make some moves.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Conklin was a huge, huge sign for them. I just hope that he doesn't show his Chubb on national TV. Number 11. For me, this is a big difference somewhat for us. I have Kenyon Drake at number 11. Now that we know that he's going to be the number 1 running back for the Arizona Cardinals, an offense last year that had you combine the numbers of their all 3 running backs between Edmonds, David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, they would have combined to be running back 3 in fantasy football. It's just one of those offenses, kind of similar to what we saw for the Steelers in years past, that doesn't really matter who you put back there, they're going to produce. And look at the weapons they have on the outside. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, with Kenyon Drake there in the backfield, and Kyler Murray under center in his second year of this offense. This guy could absolutely explode in 2020.
Yeah, Drake is not in my top 12. He's probably going to be around 15 or so for me, by the time we're done with some of these offensive rankings. And the reason is with Drake is not that I don't think that he can be good, but number one, we haven't seen him take on that type of a feature role back. We did see it a little bit for a small stretch at one point in time, and that jumped a lot of people onto the Kenyon Drake train, and he just never ended up giving us that type of a role moving forward. However, the one thing that I see with Arizona is their defense going to be improved? If their defense isn't going to be very improved this year out there in that division, then you could see a lot of catch up and Kyler Murray having to throw the ball quite a bit. And if that happens, you're going to see probably some of that volume that we would like Kenyon Drake to have to be taken away. And that, again, will hurt those numbers a little bit. And we won't see some of the volume that we would see with some of these other top backs that I have ahead of them.
Right. Number 12, I have Leonard Fournette, somebody who's not inside of your top 12 either. The reason I gave Fournette the bump is really what we saw in the passing game last year. He had over 70 receptions last year, and that's something that you really don't expect from a runner the style of Leonard Fournette. Now Nick Foles is out of the picture. We know that possibly Gardner Minshew gets his chance if they don't add somebody here during the draft also. And that's really something that will help Leonard Fournette going forward. It's all about the volume and the touches. He's going to get it. What really hurt him last year and didn't, allow him to finish higher was the lack of touchdowns. But you and I say it every year. We're not buying touchdowns. Personally, I want to buy touches, and I see Leonard Fournette getting quite a few of them here in 2020.
Yeah, if Leonard Fournette had scored like 5 more touchdowns, I mean, he would have been one of the top overall backs last year, especially in PPR leagues. I've got Leonard Fournette at 13. And I actually went back and forth with him and Aaron Jones quite a bit. And I ended up putting Aaron Jones at 12. Those two are really interchangeable for me. I wouldn't be surprised if they did spend another draft pick on like a low end running back or something like that. Or, if they just had some, because it seems like they've been wanting to move on from Fournette for a while now. So some of those things with the Jacksonville Jaguars, it just doesn't sit right with me. I do like him. Definitely think he could be in the top 12 again. Aaron Jones that I have there, we're concerned about him because Green Bay has already said out loud to us that they think that they could add another back and have more, of a running back by committee. That's been said out loud. I've got Todd Gurley at 11. So I've got him just inside the top 12 because I think if you bring in a guy like Todd Gurley on the short-term deal that they did, the Falcons are going to give him a lot of volume. And we've seen running backs be successful in that offense before. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gurley is successful there as well. So there's a few backs here towards the top, into the top 12 that really you could move around and you're not going to have a whole lot of difference in points from them.
Right. And I don't have Aaron Jones or Todd Gurley in my top 12. I actually have them. I mean, like you said, we're all close together. I got Jones at 13, Gurley at 14. A lot of people don't agree with Aaron Jones, but like you just said, wait until after the draft. If after the draft they do not add a running back, Aaron Jones is going to jump up the rankings, at least for me, more than likely for Kyle also. So that's just something we need to pay attention to. Todd Gurley, I think he gets a better opportunity this year. Maybe he was handcuffed a little bit at the beginning of 2019 from the Rams in hopes that they had the division wrapped up. They probably weren't expecting what the San Francisco 49ers did. They figured, you know what, we'll rest him early, ride him down the stretch because his touches dramatically increased second half of the season, and he played better, but by that point, they were just too far out of the playoff race. And now he's in Atlanta, which is absolutely crazy to think about because Todd Gurley just a few years ago, one of the best fantasy running backs there was, now is going to get a great chance in Atlanta in a system that's going to utilize his talents. We're really going to see how healthy those knees are here in 2020, and it really makes him a high-end running back too, in my opinion also. So yeah, even though they're not right here inside the top 12, totally understand the points, and I don't hate it either.
It's close. It's close towards that back end, super close. You could, again, move any of these guys around and, the points could be on a per game basis. It could be less than 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a win-win if you think about it. There's a lot of options, which is great because one of these guys is going to end up falling to you there in the second round more than likely, and you're going to gladly say thank you for it and move on.
Oh, yeah.
But that was our top 12. That's our quick top 12 here, mine and Kyle's. We disagree a little bit. But like we said, we have so much time to make the adjustments in these rankings. A lot's going to happen after the NFL draft is complete. After that, we'll start to get a little bit, a better understanding of where these offenses are going, and we'll make more adjustments. And by all means, we're going to share them with you. But this is an interactive channel, so make sure down below if you see somebody else, somebody that should probably be in a different spot in your opinion, throw it down below in the comment section. We're not out here telling anybody that we're smarter than you are. We're all trying to figure it out just the same way, but we greatly appreciate the support. We're going to be doing this for all the other positions also, wide receiver, tight ends, quarterbacks, so make sure You look for all those videos coming out. Hit the subscribe button if you have not subscribed. Help a couple brothers out by hitting the like button because views are low in the off season. Can I get an amen? I mean, it's a little slow. Yeah, Kyle over there, amening. Absolutely, hallelujah. But yeah, we greatly appreciate the support. Look out for those other videos. Take your mind off of what's going on in the world. Let's talk some football and have some fun doing it. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.